wherever you happen to be while you're catching this. I just want to share some thoughts here on the 2027 snowmobile drop that just happened the other day with Polaris and SkiDoo. And I'm not speaking from any expert point of view. I'm just speaking from a business standpoint kind of thing here. So, SkiDoo dropped a couple of new models, the 2027 models. One is supposed to be a throwback to a model that people really liked back 20 years ago, the MKZ, the 20th anniversary of the MKZ. And Polaris dropped a model, like a 200 size kids model. And here's my thoughts on it, especially after reading the comments on the Polaris, which was kind of disappointing that the comments were in the world, and the Karens are going to come out and complain about something that they don't like about it, whatever. So let me touch on the SkiDoo first. So people are complaining that the colors, they're sick and tired of the yellow and black combination with no customization, and the model that it's supposed to be dedicated to 20 years ago was purple and had yellow and a few other colors on it. So people were complaining that it's not a true tribute because the color scheme is not correct. Okay, I'll give you that. That's fine. It does. I'm not really like looking at it all that impressed. I kind of like the wedges of the 80s and 90s. You know, that's kind of where I tune out, is after the 2000s, when stuff started really getting kind of just silly in power, and when they really kind of lost their customer base by upscaling everything and kind of forcing everybody out, or forcing all the normies out. So people are complaining about the colors. Okay, that's easily fixed. Just wrap it. It's cool that they came out with a new model. It's kind of ugly. I think it's ugly myself. It's not timeless like the wedges are, or stuff from the 60s and 70s. That's all timeless stuff. You'll always find people that find that stuff cool. You'll only find modern youngsters or modern people that find this new stuff attractive, and I don't find it attractive. Then they dropped another model, and I don't remember what it was, but it has they've added the dreaded auto start and stop on the sleds now. People hate that stuff on their cars. They disable it. You know, you start your car, you press the button to disable the auto start stop. People hate it. It's just more wear and tear, unnecessary wear and tear. Idling is wear and tear as well, but I think that's running the starter. Every start and stop is stupid, especially if you live in the city and you've got a traffic light every 150 feet. Just, it's a stupid feature. And now it's on your sled. So now every time you take your finger off the throttle, your sled shuts off, which is dumb. I think that's really, really dumb. And then they dropped an electric, an EV version as well, which I know that EVs are absolutely a polar topic when it comes to the people of this country now. But I don't trust it. I wouldn't rely on it. If the apocalypse happened and I needed to get away, I'm not grabbing an electric anything, because basically after an EMP has been dropped, nothing's going to work anyways. So you might as well stick with your carbureted, basic stuff. You know, tried and true. It'll start. You may have to pull the cord 150 times to do it, but it'll start. So the auto start stop thing is a non-starter for people. People absolutely detested it. They said, we don't like it in our cars. Why would we want it in our snowmobiles? So SkiDoo, you dropped the ball. You really did. That's not cool. People are looking for simplicity. They're looking to go back to a simpler time. I know I'm looking to go back to a simpler time. I don't need any of this technology stuff. I don't care to have a big screen. I don't care to have connectivity with my phone. I don't care to have the car or the sled relaying data back to the manufacturer. I don't care to have trouble codes. I don't care to have to scan stuff. I really have no interest in that. TBI is really kind of where I draw the line. TBI is still fixable. It's easy to fix. It's easy to diagnose. Just that was the peak, the pinnacle right there was TBI. After that, okay, maybe up until 1995, vehicles were still serviceable. But when you started to put miles and miles of wire on stuff, and if your service manual is like a foot thick, you got a problem. Because who's going to be able to diagnose and fix this thing on the side of a trail? You know, you're on a trail, you're 20 miles from anywhere. So you're out in the wilderness, which is the whole point. You want to get out into the wilderness. That's what I do. I want to go and enjoy riding around, looking at snow-covered fields, looking at trees, interacting with the occasional animal, and having just beautiful views. It's like the ultimate off-grid kind of experience. I don't want to sit there and be like, oh, I forgot to bring my code scanner. It really kind of takes away the whole feel when you have to bring that kind of crap. Oh, I forgot to pack my laptop with me. Now I don't know what this thing's doing. It doesn't want to start, doesn't want to run. It's running like crap. It's throwing 1,000 codes. I have to have it towed to the dealer because even the local shop can't deal with it because the technology is just beyond. They're not investing in that computer technology to be able to scan these vehicles because the stuff's under warranty, so you got to go to the dealer anyways, and these companies can't afford these kinds of investments anymore. There's just no money in these kinds of repairs. So now, I guess to quote Scotty from Star Trek, it says the more they overdo the plumbing, the easier it is to plug up the drain. So it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. So what was a fun, simple sport where in an afternoon you could take your carburetor apart, spray out all the ports, clean it up, put a new gasket on it, put a new fuel line on it, and away you go. As I proved in my last video, that's all I did with my 1978 Jag. Yeah, nothing's fixable on it. So they really need to go back. We need to go back. We really do. I think that it's going to be our own downfall. We're not going to be able to fix anything, especially if like the net goes down or the power grid goes down. I mean, we're putting so much on the power grid right now that if it goes down, we can't fix any of this stuff. We can't. It's all just, everything will be bricked. Everything will be a paperweight. And, you know, where's the fun in that? And you just paid $30,000 for a paperweight that has to go to the dealer, so you're not going to have it for however many, weeks or days or the whole season. You never know, because a lot of these manufacturers have intergalactic back order. That's like the new thing. Well, it's going to be 6 weeks before we see the part. It's got to come in from, Timbuktu, and we don't have it. And you know how many people are ordering it? There's 500 people on the list, and you're number 499. So that's a big disappointment right there. I would have hoped that SkiDoo would have been like, we're going to make a nice, simple, fast, easy to work on sled. It seems to be that you can either go the over-tech route and hope that you save the environment through over-tech, but you're not, because you're just creating a giant paperweight. Or you could go the other way and make something that has a long shelf life to it, and it doesn't end up in the scrapyard because it lasts forever. Those are the kinds of things that I'm thinking about, and I'd like to have the pendulum swing back the other way to stuff that's serviceable, that you can keep alive for many, 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 many years and keep it out of the landfill. That's the whole point. We don't want to put stuff in the landfill if we can avoid it. Big disappointment there. I don't care about the paint scheme. That's fixable. People were going to paint and wrap their stuff anyways. So that's just a bitch. But the fact that, people are bitching about stupid stuff like that just tells me that the internet sucks. Facebook sucks. You can post anything, your proudest moment, and someone's going to be like, oh, that sucks, or they're going to, you know, they're just going to say that, oh, well, I've done it that way my entire life, and this is no big deal, and you know, congratulations, welcome to 2026. You know, everybody has their achievements when they have their achievements. They're not basing it on what year or what the trend is. But anyways, yeah, so listening to all Karens bitch about paint schemes is kind of stupid. I will gripe about the auto start stop. I think that's a dumb thing. I think you're going to have a lot of wore out parts. It's not like these things are, you know, not getting the crap beat out of them to begin with. And now they're going to get even more crap beat out of them because you now have an extra layer of BS on top of it. So let's get this algorithm going. The kids, won't we think of the kids? Recommend this video, damn it. Anyways, Polaris. Polaris made a good move, I think. Polaris came out with a kids model. It's a 200, and it's geared towards kids. I think that's great because if you think about it, the average age, from what I understand, the average age of the snowmobiler right now is 56 years old. 56 years old is the average age. Snowmobiling is going the way of motorcycling. It's kind of like everyone's going to be dead. We're all going to just age out, and then you're going to have a bunch of sleds that have no owners. And sorry, hit the brakes and everything flies to the dashboard here. You're going to have a bunch of just kids that don't want to have anything to do with it because, like housing, nobody can afford to get into it anymore, so they don't bother. They're just like, well, you know, it's not for me. That's a rich person's sport, which snowmobiling for the last 20 years kind of has been. You know, you want to spend 18 to 30 grand on a sled, you know, that's not really like weekend throwaway money. That's kind of like, I got to take a loan out. And, you know, yes, you had to take a loan out back in the day, but you could have that loan pay off within, you know, 6 months to a year back when we had actual wages. So, yeah. But to see Polaris actually come out with a kids model, that's awesome. I think that's a great move. Make it affordable. I haven't seen what the price point is on the thing. I assume that it's going to be for rich kids. But make the price point affordable so a lot of kids can get into it. Show the market that there's potential customers. Make it affordable so people line up and want to buy the hell out of this thing. So Polaris can't even keep them on the shelf because people want them so bad that, you know, that they show them that they hit a home run. That's what I say. Go out, buy it, show them that they hit a home run. Perfect. You know, we couldn't ask for anything more than that. But once again, the Karens come out on Facebook and start complaining that it looks like an Arctic Cat. Oh, that's just a redressed Arctic Cat. So what? Who cares? Arctic Cat has what, bankrupted twice now? Now I own an Arctic Cat. I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's easy to, mine is easy to work on. When I rode it, I enjoy it. So who cares? As long as it's out on the market, who cares? Give the kids a chance. You want more opportunity. If Polaris looks at their market share, or looks at what the comments are, and they see, well, everybody thinks it's an Arctic Cat, they're not going to buy it because of XYZ. They're not going to continue. What is going on out here? I swear. It's absolutely turned into Braden Dead Central out here. You got just people just sitting here like turning into absolute cadavers behind the wheels of their car. Anyways, side note, this person's just sitting here with the turn signal on in the middle of the lane. There's plenty of time to turn, and they're not even doing it. So, I don't get it. It's just people are on too many drugs. Get off the drugs, kids. They're making you really stupid. So, yeah, I'm glad that Polaris has made a kids model, and I hope that they make it affordable, because that's very important that the next generation, the kids generation, the kids now, the ones that haven't been damaged, not the millennials. There's no rescuing the millennials. They are shot. They're cooked, fried, done. But the next generation, the ones that are like 6 to 10 years old, there might be a chance to save them, and we got to give them every opportunity we can to save them. And this is a way to do it. A kid's model is perfect. It is absolutely perfect. Bring it on. Bring it on. And as for the Karens out there complaining about it, oh well, hey, you're going to ruin it for yourselves. That's all I can say, is that the marketing manager for Polaris is going to go, well, gee, I wonder what they're saying about our new sled on Facebook. And they're going to log in, they're going to look, and they're going to see all these stupid derogatory comments towards it. And it's like, okay, well, we're not going to try anymore. And then the one and only kids model, that goes away. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, gee, I wish that somebody would, make a model for the kids. I wish we just want a basic stripped down version for the kids. And Polaris is going to be like, well, we tried, and everybody, dogpiled us and said it looked like we stole the plans from an Arctic Cat, which, as I said, they may have, they may not have. Who knows? I don't care. I just like the idea that now there's a window of opportunity for a new generation to get into something that is, the average age is 56 years old. I think it could be 54 or 56. I think it's anywhere in there. But either which way, they need to start doing that with the motorcycles as well, because that market is going to be cooked here. Probably within the next 10 years, you're going to see that everybody that was a motorcyclist died from old age. They're all in their 70s, 80s. They're done. There's no way that there's no marketing to them. Even though they're the only ones with money these days, the problem is they're shooting themselves in the foot by not making affordable units anymore. And I know that everyone's going to say, well, there's no profit in affordable units. Yeah, we know. That's the step up. You get them into an entry-level unit, and you show them that it's a quality unit, they're going to enjoy it, then they can afford it. They will eventually outgrow it, or they'll ride it so much that it needs to be replaced. And what are they going to remember? Well, I had a good experience with this first one. It comes with built-in quality and reliability. I'm going to spend a little bit more money and get the next one. I guess since this channel is mainly geared towards Nissans and Infinitis and Datsuns, let's put it in perspective of that. Okay, your first car is a Versa. And you like the Versa because it treated you well for 6 years. It got you through those tough times. It got you through that divorce. It got you through that employer change that means you had to take that pay cut. But the car was there for you. It got you to work every single day. It fired up. It was cheap to maintain. You can even maintain it to a degree. So now you've got that better job. You're not struggling anymore. You've been single for a while. You've got your finances back in good order and everything like that. You have wore that Versa out. You want to replace it with something with a little bit more because you're like, I don't want to go for a bare bones car. I would like to get a little bit more. So you remember the people that were there with you when you were down and out. So you're like, that Versa took such good care of me. What a great car. I'm going to go and step up to the next level. I'm going to go get, let's just say for example's sake, I'm going to go get an Altima. And so now Nissan got 2 sales, the Versa and the Altima, only because of the Versa. Now, if Nissan came in like they are now and everything's over-engineered and too expensive and all that, and people are looking at it going, well, what am I getting for this price? Why wouldn't I go over to, I'll use myself as an example. My daily driver is a Subaru Impreza. The reason I got that is because the Subaru Impreza has got all-wheel drive and it came with a 5-speed. I couldn't get that through Nissan at all. That was not an available option. If I wanted all-wheel drive, I had to go to an Altima. What did I have to do? I had to absorb the ownership of a CVT. Awful. That's not what I want to do. That's not what I wanted to do. So Nissan lost me because they didn't offer that graduated. Because the car before my Impreza was a Versa. I drove a 5-speed Versa for 6 years. I think 6 or 7 years I had a 5-speed Versa. I never had it on my channel because it's, you know, it wasn't a very exciting car. But it got me through those tough times. It got me through that quote-unquote divorce that I basically went through. It got me through a lot of stuff. And, you know, when the time came and I needed a new car and I wanted to look around for something, I looked at the Nissan lineup and, well, if I wanted to get something nicer, I like the Maxima, I like the look of the Maxima, but I had to deal with a CVT and I had to deal with an overpriced car. So I just said to myself, no, I'm not dealing with that. And then this Impreza came up as an available option to me, and it had a 5-speed and all-wheel drive with power windows, power locks, heated seats. You know, I could connect my phone to it. It had everything that I needed. And so I pulled the trigger on that. And that's been my car for 6 years now. So when the time comes, I don't know what I'm going to do for my next ride. I'm definitely not going to buy a new car, but that's just me. But that just ties back. Let's just tie that back to the Polaris comment. So the Polaris comes in with a kid's model. The kid rides it until he's too big or she's too big for it. And then what? Well, it was cool that Polaris thought of this market share. They grew up on a Polaris. A lot of times when you're a kid like me, I grew up in Nissans and Datsuns. So my loyalty is to Nissans and Datsuns up to a certain year. That was me growing up in the backseat of a Datsun 610. That's how that happened. So the kid grows up on a Polaris. They're a Polaris person now. So when the time comes and they're a teenager or they're, you know, in their late single digits, the parents want to get them something else. They're going to look at Polaris because they're going to remember that Polaris thought of that market share, and they're going to look and go, well, nobody else has that availability for their market. Or the parents have another kid. They have a second kid that's coming of age, and they need a sled. The original 200 Polaris has 200 million miles on it. We're going to buy another one. Well, Polaris offers another sled, so they're going to go buy another one. Or kid number 2 is jealous, wants a sled because kid number 1 got a sled. So they go out and they buy a second Polaris. Look at this, see how that works? I swear these marketing people only want to sell you what they want to sell you. They're not researching anything. They're not looking at it because from my understanding, growing up, market research meant you listened to what people wanted and then you made that thing. You know, it's kind of like the Datsun Z car. You know, Katsuyama went around and looked and saw what people wanted in their cars in America, did a whole bunch of research, studied it, saw what people liked about it, saw what people didn't like about their cars, and then you know what was born? The Datsun Z car. And it was an instant hit. You know why? Because they had done the research. They had done the research and they had figured out what people wanted, and then they built it. Now they're building it and they're just trying to convince people that, well, this is what you really want. Like SkiDoo and the auto start. That's not what people wanted. If you had a marketing research department that actually was on the ground listening to people, they would have figured out very early on that auto start stop is not a feature that anybody wants, especially on a sled. So, I mean, yeah, I'll give the Karens their credit for for complaining about auto start stop. Fine. You got it. You're correct on that one. The color scheme thing, I don't really care about. That's all fixable. But yeah. So SkiDoo, to wrap this all up, because I'm about to get on the thruway here and I'm driving this gargantuan pile of truck here. In summary, SkiDoo launches some models, an EV model, which, before I go, I guess the EV model is being excused as a ski resort model. Like, oh, this is if somebody's at a hotel resort and wants to rent one for an afternoon and go riding around and all that. I'm like, so we are already making excuses for the electric snowmobile. We're already making excuses for it by saying, well, it's not really intended to be ridden on trails. Well, what else are you going to do with it? Ride on trails and then take it out and beat on it in some hills or whatever, which is only going to last like 20 minutes doing that. And then what do? You just leave it there? It's like the city of Rochester has these scooters that you can rent. They're scooters for rent. They're like on a vending machine kind of setup. And they literally are littered all over the city because people will rent them and ride them until the battery takes a dump, and then they just leave them on the side of the road. The company will come in, maybe pick them up after a certain while, because I think they have GPS on them, recharge and put it up. But the city is littered with these things, and they're not taken care of. Nobody cares about them whatsoever. It's an eyesore. So that's kind of what it's at. It's like, you're going to go to a ski resort, you're going to rent an electric snowmobile until it dies, and then what? Well, your buddies want to go trail riding. You want to do 600 miles. You want to do a 200-mile trip. You want to do a 50-mile trip. From my understanding, the range is only 31 miles. 31 miles. That's 15 miles out, 15 miles back. It's like me riding from my house to, town, because I'm only 15 miles away from the nearest town. That's it. And by the time I get home, biting my nails, because I'm like, am I going to make it? Stupid. So yeah, they're already, the apologists, the EV apologists are already out there making excuses for it, saying it's just intended to be a rental, and for ski resorts, for people going to have day fun. It's like, look, I don't think that that's what is being marketed as. I think that they were trying to go swing for the fences and say that it was designed to replace your gas engine, your two-stroke, your greasy triple. It's supposed to be that. It's supposed to be high and mighty and with a range of 31 miles. Give me a break. So SkiDoo, Polaris comes out with the win with the kids sled. I think that's awesome. I'm really happy about that. I'm going to leave the video on a happy note. I'm just going to say I'm very thrilled with that, because I do want to see something for the future generations. There's so much doom and gloom going on out in this world right now, and the younger generation, how can they not absorb all that? How can they not absorb it and think about it going, I probably am doomed. I'm not going to own a house. I'm not going to have any assets. My job's going to get replaced with AI. So a little bit of good news goes a long, long way. Let's just say that giving the kids something gives it a little bit of hope. You got to plant a little bit of hope. You can't just tell them that everything's bad, you're doomed, you're cooked, you're this, you're that. Yeah, that may be true. That may be on paper true. But if you don't take the chance, if you don't do something to get off the sinking ship, anything at all, well, then you are doomed. What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? So I think that Polaris taking a chance and saying we're going to make a kids model, I think that's awesome. Bring it on, 2027. Let's see how it does. I need to get past this truck here. I think we're going to see some interesting stuff coming up here in 2027. I hope SkiDoo kind of goes back to the board and says, whoops, false start, and comes back with a different model and says, okay, we're gonna change the paint scheme on the MKZ 20th anniversary. We're going to give it the original colors. Okay, fine. We're going to ditch the auto start stop. Awesome. And the EV one, we're not going to try and market it as a replacement for your long-distance gas job. We're just going to market it as a fun afternoon toy for resorts. I would buy that. I wouldn't buy the unit itself, but I would buy the marketing campaign if they just said, okay, this one is not intended to replace your long-distance trail rider. This one's just for, rental fleet stuff. Okay, that's fine. There's a time and place for that. But you can't come barging in with a marketing campaign that looks like you're telling everybody this is the future. This is going to replace your old school sled, but you're only going to get 31 miles at a time out of it. I'm like, nah, I'm not paying for that. No, I'll keep my 30-year-old sled. I'll keep my 48-year-old sled at that point, because I paid $250 between both of my sleds. So I own two sleds for $250 total, and then a little little bit of carb work on one, and then buying the outfit to wear, the helmet, the safety gear, the bibs, all that stuff for both of them. So totally, for 2 sleds, I'm under $1,000, and I own 2 sleds. You are not going to be able to do that with any of these new sleds, especially that EV sled. I don't understand that. But anyways, as I said, I was going to leave this on a positive note. Polaris, good job. Good job. Keep up the good work on that. I always liked the Polaris sleds. I don't own one yet, but I do plan, since I don't really have a preference. I really don't have a personal preference on that. I would see a Polaris in my stable at some point in my life if the price was right, because I'd like to be able to experience them all. I think that they're all cool. Anyways, like, share, subscribe. I'm going to try to get back on topic here. The next video is going to hopefully be a little bit Nissan related. I got a week off next week, doing some transitional stuff with my life. Always be growing, I say. And then I'll have some more actual on-topic material here, so bear with me. You're just following my adventures in my life right now as it's presented to me. See ya!